Joining us to discuss today's headlines is Minister for Social Services, Amanda Rishworth, and National Senator Bridget McKenzie in the studio. Nice to see you, ladies. All right, Amanda, first up, how was that to witness firsthand?
Well, look, it was pretty disrespectful, and not just to the King, but to the many great Australians that had gathered in the Great Hall. I was standing next to a number of great Australians who were pretty shocked. And didn't quite understand why this was going on. So it was very disrespectful and really disrespectful for everyone in the room. So it was pretty disappointing, but didn't put a dampener on, I think, the very positive rest of the welcome ceremony, which I think was really very positive.
All right, Bridget, senior members of the Liberal Party are reportedly considering a censure motion against Lydia Thorpe. Would you bother with it?
Well, it's appalling behaviour, Carl. You know, we're embarrassed across the globe as a result of this. If you're not a fan of King Charles and Queen Camilla, don't accept the Prime Minister's invitation. I think it's a real test for the Prime Minister here. You notice after the outburst he was smiling as if he was indulging a naughty child instead of a militant activist. He actually put a code of conduct in place for a more respectful parliament. PM, time to use it.
All right, Amanda.
Well, I just wanted to respond to that. I mean, this is entirely Lydia Thorpe's behaviour, and we should be united in our sort of condemnation of it.
Well, you've got the
this
tools
is
there,
Lydia's
Amanda.
behaviour, and well, quite frankly, this was a stunt by Lydia Thorpe, and by giving it oxygen is exactly what she wants. So, quite frankly, I thought, Bridget, that we would be united in a response of respect, not play these political games.
So I thought I'd climb in here today because it's normally you two out there on the tightrope every week, and I just wanted to give you my take on what happened yesterday and the whole thing. So here it is. The dude has been going through a lot. For obvious reasons, his youngest son's cheese has slightly fallen off its cracker. That son is feuding with the good son, and as a parent, that must ache his soul. The good son's beautiful wife got diagnosed with cancer at the same time as Pops. Imagine the psychology and physicality of that joint battle. He hasn't finished treatment yet, but he flies all the way to Australia and starts pressing the flesh straight away because for some bizarre reason, he genuinely loves this country and us. In comes Lydia, giving a welcome to country, Thorpe style, in sacred possum gear, shouting obscenities at him. Then the cream on top, Amanda, Bridget. He wanders outside and runs into the most socially obnoxious creature in the animal kingdom, the alpaca, known for only two things, expensive fleece and spitting. Lo and behold, the bloody thing spits.
Without the phone.
All the while, the king and queen keep smiling. You don't have to like the royal family and what it stands for, but by goodness, this king, Amanda, is a dude. He ran at the lesson.
Well, look, he put up with an alpaca spitting on him, right? So, and just kept going on. So, in true British style, I think.
I like him. You, Bridget?
Yeah, I'm a constitutional monarchist. I thought his speech...
Oh, no.
I know, who would have thought? But I thought his speech yesterday was fabulous. He talked about our warmth, our unique Australian characteristics of humour. He knows us well as a nation and loves us and has only our best interests at heart. And I think it's great.
And also, Amanda, I mean, just how he spoke about our emergency services, the deep connection that he feels with them. This is a man who has devoted his life to public service.
Yeah.
And it's to be admired and honoured.
Oh, look, he absolutely has. And the way he spoke about our environment as well, our nature, the connection he made through schooling here in Australia. He obviously has a deep connection with our country, spoke about the emergency services, but really his respect for the Australian people and our Indigenous people. He made that point very strongly. So, look, you know, politicians have to shake a lot of hands, but he has to shake a lot of hands and greet a lot of people, and he did it really graciously and with a smile on his face.
As I mentioned, the king is a dude.
He's a dude.
Thanks, ladies. Sylvia.
Welcome back. The King and Queen are back in Sydney this morning for the final day of the royal tour in Australia after their visit to Canberra was well disrupted.
Well, good morning, Your Majesty. So, obviously, the breakfast TV program of choice. And the man himself, Rusty, joins us now after gallivanting around other shows for the last few days. Nice to see you, my man.
Lovely to see you.
Russell Myers, Lydia Thorpe last night, yesterday. Much traction back home?
Yeah, I mean, in the eye of the storm, it's a big story, isn't it? It looked fairly dramatic when Lydia Thorpe sort of burst into the chamber and shouting just about 20 feet from the king. But I think when you sort of sit back from it and understand that she's got form for making such protests and the context of it as well, the king travelling here, having cancer, I thought he looked a little bit tired yesterday. I think there's quite a degree of sympathy for him here and at home as well.
We remember Kate and William were met with some protests on one of their recent tours. Is this sort of part and parcel now? Do they expect this kind of thing?
For sure. I mean, I think it's very different, the sort of Caribbean issue, the issue of reparations and the issue of the Indigenous rights here. And I think the palace almost thought the problem would be the Republican issue, and that really has been a damp squib. But the issue for the royal family moving forward is the world is a very, very different place to the one where the late Queen was so revered. And I think they've just got to accept it. And you know, if I was advising them, I'd say you've got to take these things head on, and it doesn't look too good if you're reacting to certain.
Oh, I would say that for the most part, people in the room and outside of it were embarrassed by that yesterday. Embarrassed by the message that it sent, and it's not reflective of how Australians feel towards it.
Yeah, I think ultimately you'd look at across the political landscape, there has been a lot of support for the King and Queen. You know, Anthony Albanese was saying yesterday it didn't represent what Australians are about. It's about respect. And interestingly, the palace had known that this could be an issue, but what were they to do? They could have banned her. That would have become a bigger story.
Yeah.
You would have had Lydia Thorpe all over the network saying that she was not allowed to go into the chamber. Let's not forget she's an elected official of this country.
Yeah.
So I think for the king, they take it in their stride. Of course, it looked a little bit ugly, but it's not going to be a major issue moving forward, and it's certainly not going to throw the tour off.
I'll tell you what was ugly, that alpaca sneezing all over the
Look at
king.
poor old Hefner. He's not ugly. He's gorgeous.
Awful creature.
You see him in his little suits there.
Look at him. Whose idea was that?
He's very cute.
And to be fair, the king did take that in his stride as well. He thought it was hilarious, and he did a little sneeze or a cough. I don't know what
He's
it
a good
was.
sport, isn't he?
Yeah.
Basically, they spit. They're awful creatures. And actually, it looks at one first glance, I thought it was my grandma, just with the grey perm and
with a little crown and a tie on. Yes.
we don't have you here for long.
No, we don't. We're in the
Sad.
final throes of it now, and
Yeah.
we go to Samoa tomorrow for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. But thank you to everybody for such a warm welcome. You know, on the streets as well, all the people coming out to see the Royals, and it's been really, really
No,
great
it's
fun.
going to be a big day today. It's
Yeah,
lovely.
big day today. We had and a solid finish as well. And I think that certainly the Royals don't want to have anything thrown off from this.
Well, between the community barbecue today and the Opera House, it will be pictures galore
For
for
sure,
people like
that's what
you
we
in
want.
newspaper land. So
definitely.
bring it all on.
It's lovely to see you on
Lovely
our
to
show.
see
Oh, you're making up for what you said
We're
yesterday.
still going,
Paul.
are
He's
we?
trying really hard. Remember when you accused him of throwing it around to other
I've
people?
seen, yes, it has been noted, but you know.
You do throw it around a little bit, but I love it when you throw it around with me.
Well,
So,
the
and our
feeling's
show.
mutual, Carl.
Okay. Okay, we'll leave you two to
Thanks,
it,
Rusty.
shall we? Thank you very much.
We'll just
Certainly got everyone talking about it this morning. For more, we're joined by Nine's political editor, Charles Croucher, in Canberra. Charles, good morning to you.
G'day,
An
Sylvie.
extraordinary and pretty controversial moment, wasn't it? It's divided Australians this morning.
It has, and divided people around the world, as you said. There's as much interest about this in England than there is here. Certainly surprised a lot of people watching on from the UK who weren't expecting this kind of show in a country's parliament. Here in Australia, it's just a case of this is another action from Senator Thorpe that took everyone by shock in the room yesterday as they were watching on, even if this has become part and parcel of her brand of politics. The question I sort of wonder as to whether, you know, people around the world saw this coming was, has it changed any minds? And I suspect if any minds were changed, and there'd be very few of them, that would actually be in sympathy for the King. They'd see this, for most Australians, as being a rude outburst by someone in the Parliament, albeit an elected member of Parliament who is in the Parliament to speak for what she believes in.
Well, the Australian Monarchist League wants Senator Thorpe to resign. That's probably no surprise, right? But is that a feeling that is perhaps echoed by the majority in Canberra today?
I don't think the majority want to see that. I think it's a pretty bad place when you have parliamentarians forcing parliamentarians, people elected by the people, to resign. Senator Thorpe will be up for re-election in 2028. That is when the people will decide who gets to sit in this parliament, not the Australian Monarchist League or not anyone else. Only once before has an MP been expelled from parliament. That was a guy called Hugh Mahon back in 1920, hilariously, for disloyalty to the king. So there is a touch of history there. Now, that might have been more about being Irish and Catholic at a pretty dodgy time in the UK. But those powers have since been stripped back. What could happen, and what Bridget McKenzie was alluding to when she spoke to Carl on the program earlier today, is that the Senate could name Senator Thorpe. That would require her to come forward, explain her actions, perhaps apologise. They could then vote to suspend her as well. But I suspect there'd be enough people in the building behind me that would know that that's exactly what Senator Thorpe would like, and that would give her yet another platform to lay out what she wants.
What is ultimately, Charles, the outcome of what we saw yesterday?
Well, look, King Charles had a chuckle with the Prime Minister and got on with it afterwards. It was 45 seconds of Senator Thorpe speaking her mind, a reminder that the colonies perhaps don't always do what the King and the Crown want from the UK. And I think we'll all move on. Senator Thorpe will find something new and a new platform to espouse these beliefs she has had for some time, the beliefs she was talking in the early hours of this morning on UK TV about. But ultimately, I think George W. Bush, when he spoke here in Parliament, was interrupted twice by the Greens in the House of Reps, summed it up best when he said, "Ain't democracy grand?" Another display of it in the hall yesterday.
It certainly was. Charles, thank you.
Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and...
What's my name again?
Oh my goodness, Carl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports, and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?